Just sent a tweet out. So let me see. One last adjustment here.
AJ.
Hey, you guys hear me okay?
Hey, yeah, what's up,
Yep.
Jay? How you doing, bro? Hey, perfect timing. We literally just went live. Perfect timing. Have you guys been introduced? Anyway, we're
Yeah.
live. Progressive martial arts. You guys know my co-host, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
She'd be helping me out on the stream. She wanted to talk me how to stream. Boy Jay is on here as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured the first thing that I want to talk about, I got a lot to say about this. The Walter Wallace shooting situation.
Yeah.
Have you been following that? Have you seen the situation with the Walter Wallace shooting that much, Jay?
I
I sure.
typically I typically am, kept, up with things like this, but this time I was just too tired to even look into it.
No, I hear you,
It
bro. I'm we to go
because
through.
I know how
Mhm.
these things go. So
Yeah,
I'm just like, you know what? I didn't even want to even look into it yet.
yeah, man. It's like I actually was looking into it a lot more today, and I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but it's like, man, every time these stories come out, it's trauma for our community, and a lot of times it's hard for me to
Yeah.
look into this kind of stuff. I just watched the video today. I watched the CNN version just because I didn't want to see the graphic shooting, and I give
Yeah.
CNN props just on how they cover it, just because they show everything up until the shooting, and even then that was kind of traumatizing. But it's better because if you go on Twitter, you go on Facebook, it's a new level of black trauma because we just see black bodies over and over again
Yeah,
being
I
killed.
remember the Kenosha one where the cop killed or didn't kill him. And I'm not even black, but like I saw that on Twitter and I was just like stunned for hours because I mean it showed very clearly him shooting him in the back 7 times.
Yeah, so
I don't know how you
just
guys
to
deal
break
with
down,
this. Like,
so just to break it down in a nutshell, um, this situation is very tragic, and it's exactly why I push defund the police. Because so if you don't know the full
Yeah.
story, Walter Wallace he had a history of mental illness in his family,
Mm-hmm.
and he
Yeah.
struggled with mental illness a lot. And they had another
Mm-hmm.
mental illness situation that was going on, and
Yeah.
they called. If you want to pull that article up that
yep,
I sent you, that was the first one. And I saw this and
yep.
I was shocked because I didn't see that the first day. They actually called the ambulance. They actually called the hospital. They didn't want to call the cops for this situation.
Mm-hmm.
They specifically expressed not the cops to come, but the cops came. They came with a gun because that's all they know. And like I said, I seen the start of the video, and like I said, I didn't see the part when they literally cut the video right when they start dumping, which was good. Um,
Yeah,
and
I think that just
my
showed.
question is for people: why should we give money to these people who can't even handle a basic mental health crisis like this? For example, they are
Mm-hmm.
cowards and
Yeah.
they started shooting him, and he was like 10 to 15 feet away from the police officers
Mm-hmm.
when they shot him. And
Yeah.
when they shot him, they I'm thinking about whether we shot a video. Hey Katie, how you doing?
Hi, sorry I'm late.
And nah, it's all good. You
Mm-hmm.
actually came in right on time. We just got started.
Perfect.
We talking about the tragic shooting of Walter Wallace. Obviously, that's something that been on my mind a lot. Have you? I'm not trying to play on the spot. Have you seen it? Have you seen that much information? Because I'm just going over the basics of what happened. Have you seen what happened on that, Katie?
Um, Other than the, major headlines that have been going
Yeah,
around, I haven't kind of dived into the story too much.
it's all good.
Um,
That's all good. Like I said, we just
I've another senseless tragedy that is obviously, and great. I'm grateful that it's inspiring people to hit the streets again. I've been wondering where the people in the streets have been,
yeah,
and I'm
and
glad that they're back out there.
Yeah.
yeah, and we need to
Yeah.
stay in the streets. This is why I've been
Yep.
telling people like it's very frustrating though. It's very frustrating because I was looking at the COVID-19 numbers in my
Mm-hmm.
small town. I saw my mom sent me there's 800 cases of COVID in the town I live at. which is the highest I've ever seen it.
Mm.
Just
Uh,
outside St. Louis.
in Kansas City. Yeah, I
Kansas
live in a little town, a little suburb right outside Kansas City, and then we're not even like the hot spot of Kansas City. Like when you get closer to the city, that's where the real hot spot is. And I just saw this yesterday where we had 800 cases, and so it's like, man, we want to protest, we want to be on the street, and I was playing earlier today, like, man, there are a lot of people that make assumptions about me or whatever. It's like, man, I'm about I'm about the fight. I'm about the struggle. I posted about the time I got tear gas when I was in the Kansas City protest in summer. I don't like talk. I don't like talk. Yeah, I don't like talking about that stuff because as an activist, it's tacky. If you're just talking about all the stuff you're doing for the cause and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if you have your social media and you share a few pictures, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're just constantly talking about that, but people always just assume I'm just tweeting. But it's like if it wasn't for COVID, man, we could have been traveling. I did the little bit of canvassing I did with Bernie, and then the COVID hit, and a lot of my plans shut down. And
Yeah.
this is the problem that a lot of activists are having right now, is that we would love to organize. We would love to form communities where we can help organize a general strike. It is really, really challenging with the COVID situation that we have right now.
And the
So
place where we do it is online. So
yeah,
when people are kind of saying, "Oh, well, you're an online activist," and "Oh, you're just a Twitter activist," well, I'm an activist, and these are the options I have right now.
yeah, we got to use every single
Yeah.
tool we have. And
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
original point is we need these people on the street throughout the entire course of the Biden administration or whoever wins. I've been open. I think Biden may win, but
No,
it doesn't really matter. Whoever wins, we need to stay in the street and let them know that we are serious about this. Because looking at this story, and I'm gonna tell you guys exactly why here soon. I was looking at Biden's response to this, and it's as bad as you can possibly think. But let's look at this
shoot
here.
them in the leg instead of the heart.
Yeah, and he kind of pretty much continue to repeat that mindset that he has,
Mhm.
the mindset of law and order, the mindset that we must protect capital above all
Yeah.
costs. And what she pulled up here is I literally just read it like an hour or so in because, like I said, I was just doing my research before I talk about this, so I don't want to be that idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. But this is what kind of
Yeah,
pissed me off the most because I've seen the right wing reactionary takes on this. Unfortunately, you can't avoid them when you're on Twitter, and they're right now they're doing the basic. Oh well, he should never charge. He should never have a knife. And completely ignoring the fact that there's a mental health crisis, and completely
It's not
ignoring
illegal to have a knife.
and
exactly.
also, I
That's a
mean,
good point. That's a good point,
they
Katie.
called for the ambulance, not the police.
Yeah, exactly. And this article that you just put
Y-
up right now, they didn't even want. If you want, just scroll down a little bit, Alex. There's a part that I saw. There we go. You can start right there. Um, the family had incidents with the police before. This is what pisses me off even more, and
Yeah,
it showed why the
3 times.
cops are. Yeah, you see it. Yeah, 3 times the officers have been involved with this guy.
I think I need to take this. So I'll be back.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, bro. Do what we have to do. Do what we have to do. But multiple times the police have been involved with this, and they still, despite the
It's almost
situation,
like they have a vendetta.
yeah, exactly. And
It
go ahead, Jay.
there's constantly a vendetta. I find it funny how you have a lot of people on the right that when someone is an active shooter, they want to bring up, you know, mental health. But then when someone's actually of color who has an issue with mental health and
Exactly.
they may be armed with a knife, probably because they have, thoughts about somebody threatening them
Probably because they live
and they're
in a
not
world that
really trying to harm people. I'm sorry.
What was that, Katie?
probably I said it's probably because they live in a world that threatens them.
Yeah.
I don't think there's
Yeah.
anything surprising about a black man keeping protection on him in today's America.
Especially when they see
Yeah.
cops being so unprofessional, like the cops was in that. I almost want to put a video once Alex gets back up, just because it's not. Actually, I don't like. I'm always torn when it comes to advertising this kind of black death because I talked to a black activist before, and she's like, there's pretty much a black violence porn that goes on where people just love showing black bodies, which I don't think we need to do that. But in this case, I think it's particularly important because you can see how poorly the cops are trained. Like the video that we've seen, the cell phone videos that have been released so far. I mean, it's clear that this guy is having a mental health crisis going on with him. But instead of um, addressing that situation as a mental health crisis, they like treating it like a terrorist incident. And you had in the video, you had the mom. She was doing a better job of de-escalating the situation than the cops was even trying to do. And that's why, like, I'm hoping that Petroni can drop in here a little bit later. She's been working on
Hmm.
um, uh, the 10 demands for police reform and police abolition, and
Yeah,
this is something that she look into a lot, and she studies a lot, and this is why we advocate for defund the
yeah.
police, abolition of police.
You know,
Go
w-
ahead. I didn't know if you about to say anything, but
mhm. You know, I find it funny how someone, yeah, I find it funny how some active shooters they can go in with a semi-automatic rifle and get taken to Burger King, without any incident, and yet this young man is having a crisis and he's only has a knife on this person and he's killed on sight.
yeah,
It's
that's a
like, wait
great
a minute.
point.
Uh, you 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 think about the professionalism of police officers when they're able to take in an active shooter. It's like, okay, so they have this way to de-escalate, and yet you see somebody with something with a much less lethal weapon on him, and they still kill him. That means it's not about the ability to de-escalate; it's that they don't care
Not at all.
about him.
It's it's harder to make the
The active
case.
shooters they care about because they see themselves.
Right.
I don't agree, unfortunately.
The
It's a knife 10 feet away with a knife. I don't understand how somebody who has gone through police training can't disarm somebody with a knife.
It's even worse than that. And actually, a lot of police officers are trained on how to disarm someone with a knife. I want to see if I can find a video. Someone
Hmm.
posted about it before, but someone had a tweet where it was side by side.
Hmm.
There was a white guy who was going through a mental health crisis, and it's an
Hmm.
insane video. It's an insane video because the cops are so patient. There it is. Thank God I found it real fast. I thought I had it saved, but I didn't. Let me pull it up here. Hopefully it can play properly. I had Alex. She was pulling it up to help save some resources so I can get the video to play properly. But this is what I'm talking about here. This is the tale of two Americas. Walter Wallace was shot multiple times and killed by Philly PD. He allegedly had a knife and suffered from mental illness. Now compare his shooting to the way the police responded to a mentally ill, knife wielding white man. And when I make my argument, I guess this is another way we can quickly look at the video here. Let me um, get it pulled up here. But this is like the difference. Like I think the mentally ill white. I think Alex needs to pull this up so the video can play properly. But I'm gonna get Alex to pull this up because I think the video not really working here. But the point is, like when they had the mentally ill white person with the knife, they were doing everything they can to de-escalate, to diffuse. But this knife dude is literally chasing the cops around, and the cops like running and doing everything they can so they can't pull the trigger. And
Hmm.
when I make the argument that we must defund the police, and the reason why I think challenging our fastest police state is as important as any endeavor we have in terms of politics, this is the exact reason I tie it to white supremacy because there's no way you can
Absolutely.
talk about this
Hmm.
without tying it to white supremacy, and that's not
Well,
me. Go ahead,
Hmm.
Katie.
weren't the police, the very first police forces in this country were set up to
Yes,
capture slaves that had
slave
escaped?
patrols.
And
Mhm.
then that
Mhm.
became enforcing segregation. So it's
Yeah.
so embedded in the fabric and the roots. It's almost, you have to really jump in circles to try to detach the white supremacy from the institution, period. I mean, the
Yeah.
police from the foundation, from the ground up, have been,
Mhm.
Oh shit, Rome
you know,
jumped in. What's good,
dripping
Rome?
in racism. They
Mhm.
exist because of racism. So it's
Yeah,
just too hard
Mhm.
at this point, I think, to it's too hard to reform,
yeah. It's
right?
not even speculation either
Yeah.
because there
Yeah.
was a study that came out in 2004, and this is what I point out all the time.
Mhm.
And remember, this is 2004, so we
Mhm.
had a study done where they showed that massive amount of white supremacists was infiltrating law enforcement. And because they realized that was the
Yeah.
next step in terms of oppressing the minority and establishing white dominance. Because instead of doing it through illegal means, because back in the day it was legal, you can lynch someone, you had legal discrimination, and you had a system that was openly oppressive. Now we have a system that still oppresses them, but it's more closeted. You can't be out in the open, and it requires more technique. But what they did, and once again, we dealing with smart people. Unfortunately, evil can still be smart. A lot of these evil, smart people decide the best way to oppress the minority class is by infiltrating law enforcement. And that's why when you had the Proud Boys rally, and that's why you had the clash between the Proud Boys and you had the clash between Black Lives Matter, guess what happened? You have the police who was actually attacking medical tents of Black Lives Matter. They was
Yeah, what
literally,
side were you on?
and at the same time, they was passing out water to Proud Boys. They were
Mhm.
telling the Proud Boys that they appreciate their presence there. That's the kind of things you were dealing with.
Mhm.
So, and then there was the situation. Once again, this showing how the police force backs up white supremacy. Because remember the whole situation with
Mhm.
Governor Whitmer and how white supremacists were caught trying to organize for kidnapping. During that whole
Oh,
time, like they peacefully arrested them, still shooting them. They were giving them water. They were being very accommodative. And then you had the police chief that was apologizing for one of the people who was caught planning this act of terror because there was actual. I covered this on my show. There was a not too long before that the police chief was doing a live speaking event, and one of the terrorists that was part of the plan to kidnap the governor of Michigan, he was literally standing right next to the police chief, and he was part of the event. They were known as buddies. They were known as friends. So it's all connected. Yeah, white supremacy and law enforcement are all connected.
I
So
mean, it goes
go
into
ahead.
the training. It's embedded in their training.
Yep.
You know,
Amen.
these people are, told, oh, these neighborhoods are full of predators, and these neighborhoods are this, and you need to look out for these neighborhoods. I believe that police in the training, in the process of training, are brainwashed.
Yep. They actually
I
don't
think
even
they're
they don't hire cops that they got too high of a IQ. That's been
I
largely
believe it.
reported. They look at personality tests, and if you show too much empathy, you get disqualified. Like so,
Yeah,
these are not conspiracy theories. Like these are things that have been said, and these are things that the black community been passed down for a long time that have been rumor, but now they've been established facts. I see my boy
it
Ron jumped in here. 1 second. How you doing, bro? I'm glad he able to join us here. I can't hear you right now. I don't know if you muted. I don't think you muted.
What's going on, man?
Oh, now I can hear you. There we go, bro. Thanks for jumping on. Have you been following the situation with the Walter Wallace shooting that's been in the protest that has
Yeah,
been happening? The recent shooting in
yeah.
Philadelphia. That's the one. That's what we're talking about right now.
I
Um,
just did a story.
yeah, 'cause
Mhm.
it's still a pretty
Yeah,
new development. You have the
Mhm.
media and you have the Democratic Party even fear mongering about riots and protests instead of focusing on the family itself. I'm actually gonna pull this out. I went to my friend Alice came out here, came back, but this is beyond the pale because people wonder why I'm very when I see the response from Joe Biden, when I see the response for the Democratic Party, I'm very very happy I voted green. I'm very very I'm like I
Yeah.
I couldn't live with myself right now if I didn't end up voting Green Party
Mm-hmm.
because I'm gonna pull a Joe Biden statement. Joe Biden's statement was trash. He had a quick press conference today, not even a press conference. They just came out and they was asking him questions, and I'm gonna have that video. I really want to wait till Alex get back so I can so it can properly
I'm
stream.
back.
Oh, there he is. There he
So
is. It's all good. I think I pulled this up. This is not a video or anything. I'm gonna just pull up the statement from
Oh well,
Biden.
I already got it.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice. Oh, well, this
On
is the
top
video.
of
Yeah,
this,
show the play the
are
video
you?
real quick. Play the video since you. This fine. There wasn't the.
I suppose I can get to him actually talking.
I can't really hear that much.
Yeah, the audio is really quiet for me too, and I've got it at full.
I can't really hear it. Can y'all hear anything?
I can hear you. I can hear Alex.
I think the video itself is just really quiet. I've got it full blast and everything. So
Yeah, that's weird. I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna ask you to pull up the Biden statement right here.
okay. Yeah, I just need to go look for that.
Yeah, it's all good. Like I
After.
said, I can both pull this up here. But this is the actual statement. Beyond trash. Hearts are broken of the family of Walter Wallace Jr. and all those suffering the emotional weight of learning about another black life in America lost. We cannot accept that in this country a mental health crisis ends in death. It makes the shock and grief and violence of yesterday's shooting that much more painful, especially for a community that has already endured so much trauma. Walter Wallace's life, like many others, was a black life that mattered to his mother, to his family, to his community, and all of us. At the same time, no amount of anger and at the very real injustice in our society excuses violence. Attacking police officers and vandalizing small businesses, which are already struggling due to during a pandemic, does not bend the. Oh my God, that part really pissed me off. I got a lot to say about this part. Does not bend the moral arc of the universe closer to justice. It hurts our fellow citizens. Looting is not a protest; it is a crime. It draws attention away from the real tragedy of life cut short. As a nation, we are strong enough to both meet the challenges. Blah blah. Rest of that doesn't really matter. But you know what the first thing that comes to my mind here? Look at the statement. They literally spend 2 times more sentences condoning looting and rioting than they do condoling granting condolences to the family of the victim of the shooting. So they spend all this time. This right here is all bullshit. This area right here. You can literally end with this first paragraph. That first paragraph is literally all you need. And even that's
I
not
support
Nick.
small business. I think small businesses should be supported. They will never be more valuable than a human life, a mother's son, a father's son. You can always start your business back up. You can always get another loan. You can always open a new store. And I think that is the crutch, that capitalism thing where they go, oh, this life really matters, but so does this business.
That's capitalism.
It's sick. It's sick. It's sick.
Yeah, what was you about to say, Jay? I think you about to have something to say there.
No, I was gonna say, but think of all the properties.
Yep.
I mean, the properties. They're the ones that matter. Who cares about some life of some brown dude who he wasn't even all there anyway? This is what they actually think. They're not saying it out loud, but this is exactly what they think. And I am damn sick and tired of you having people like Joe Biden, who, by the way, his son suffers from addiction. Okay. So somebody should know anything about mental illness, it should be him. And the fact that he did that and in his 94 crime bill perpetuated a system that we have now, that people who are suffering from mental illness are being killed by police officers. Number one, shame on him. Number two, he should be disqualified from being a nominee. Number three, he should be in prison for a lot of things that he's done. So really, I don't give a shit about what Joe Biden has said or what he has to say, because Joe Biden is really just a criminal to me. He's just a criminal in a suit.
Yep, he's a war criminal. He's a domestic criminal. That's exactly what he is.
He'll talk all day long about how he can relate to the people because he's
Okay.
lost a son. He lost a son. Okay, well, black
That
parents
makes
are
him even
losing their
more
sons
evil.
all the damn time, right?
The fact that he
So
lost a
why
son
don't
and he don't sympathize with the rest of Americans, that makes him even more evil. The fact that he had sons that went through cancer, that went through all these health issues,
Yeah,
and he denied everyone else health care, that makes him even more evil. like
and the mental health is again, you bring up healthcare. It all kind of comes back to that same place. You know,
Thank
we
you.
are not being taken care of. You know, whether it's mental health, physical health, uh fucking emotional and mental
yeah,
health
mental
right now.
health care, yep. That is about as important as you can get. And this is why I was a strong, strong advocate of Medicare for all. Specifically Bernie
Exactly.
Sanders style Medicare for all, because people greatly, greatly underestimate the impact that having
Hmm.
mental health services for everyone, but especially for poor and disenfranchised communities. I don't know that much about Walter Wallace's background, but imagine if he have access to the top tier mental health care that you know for a goddamn fact that Joe Biden kids, Nancy Pelosi kids, Joe Biden kids, and all their kids have access to. You will see these kind of things cut down significantly. You see
Hmm.
these issues cut down significantly. And this is why critics of Black Lives Matter, and I said it before, I'm gonna say it again. Critics of defund the police, not even just Black Lives
Hmm.
Matter, because you have liberals who put Black Lives Matter in their bio, thinking they're doing something cool, that they being an ally.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm Rome actually made this point on one of the Black Road Brigade podcasts. He's like, man, fuck, we don't need the Black Lives Matter movement because that's been completely co-opted by liberals and the Democratic Party. And one
Yeah.
part of that, because one large demand of the Black Lives Matter movement is defund the police, and it's a very, very important issue because all the critics of defund the police, they never accurately state our position. They were like,
Hmm.
well, if you defund the police, you're gonna leave the black neighborhoods unprotected. That is not what we were talking about.
Unprotected.
They're
No,
not
and
they're not
it's
fully
inherently
unprotected
racist as
right
Un-
now.
well.
unprotected. That's laughable on his
we
face.
already put
Unprotected. We're
we
And
actually,
already put
that's the
in fact,
argument
we're
Al
being more
Sharpton.
we already
protected.
put more money in prison
Yeah, that's the argument Al
for
Sharpton
education.
used. Go
Like
ahead,
we
Rome.
used to always they don't want or need us to have these opportunities because education is a motherfucker and will take you far if you have the documents they want you to have. If all these black people got better, got any financial support,
Breaking
their
up
life
just a little
would
bit.
get worse. And this goes for even some of the lowest liberals on the scale because they have money in our they have money in our destruction, have money in prisons. So they gotta keep these systems up. People like Joe Biden have to keep these systems up in order for people in his corner to profit. So in order for them to profit, we have to be destroyed. We have to eat at each other or fight at each other for the crumbs. And this is going on while he's calling us animals. He's still going to get the vote from black people after he just called us animals, said we're
Yeah,
criminals. Looting is criminals. It's a crime.
yeah, and that's actually like the argument
Whatever.
that
But
you can't defund the
yeah,
police.
man, they don't need any of us.
I think your mic is breaking out, Rome.
I think it might be his internet.
Yeah,
Or
I don't know if he got kicked or whatever. But my point is, because that's the argument that Al Sharpton made. He made on CNN because that's the guy they always tried out. They always tried out the black liberals to help swing movements back to the right. There we go. I think Ron was back here, and he made an argument like, man, you
Yeah.
can't. The black community cannot afford to defund the police because they leave the most vulnerable suffering. Now, this argument doesn't make sense at face value because look at the system we're currently at right now. Because his argument was we
Hmm.
have to defund the police because we have these areas that have high crime rates. But the reason why we already spend a ton of money on giant police budgets. So if we have a giant police budget and you have high crime rate, isn't that proof that the giant police budget doesn't work? Right?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
and this
and
is
clearly
So once again,
Like
like
this
their arguments don't
example.
even make sense at face value. And then they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, you guys want to
Mhm.
just want to create a system of anarchy where there's no protections." My
You
stance,
know,
I'll let you go right to this, Katie. My stance
no more.
and the stance I see a lot of activists take is like, man, we need to have our resources, reallocate those resources to our community, and we can decide what we do with that. So, for example, if we reallocate our resources to our specific community, and we have mental health experts, imagine the situation with Walter Wallace, where instead of having cops show up with guns, you have mental health experts that were funded by taxpayer money of people in that community. Now, and I also challenged the notion of what a lot of people think, oh, well, I don't want my neighborhood to be unsafe. If you live in the Beverly Hills, if you live in a very rich neighborhood, and you want to spend the tax money that you guys sent having some fucking Nazi army patrolling your streets, checking you for dime bags, pulling you over for speeding tickets, and doing all this stupid shit, go ahead. In my position where I stand, go ahead, do that in your neighborhood. I don't want that shit in my neighborhood. Go ahead, Katie.
Well, I was just going to say, Rome mentioned the incarceration rate. What
Mhm.
happened in, I think it was March or April, or maybe it was May or June, when Black Lives Matter really kicked off, when Breonna Taylor, when everything was kind of really at the forefront, and we were talking finally for the first time on this big public scale about the injustices facing the Black community. I'll tell you right now that all of my white friends were talking all about the incarceration rates being so fucked amongst Black Americans and how that's a huge problem for Black Lives Matter. And then Kamala Harris gets named vice president,
Exactly.
and prison stocks go up, and
Great point.
nobody mentions it and nobody cares. And we spent all of these months posturing about what can we do. Our eyes are open now. We finally are addressing Black lives are getting murdered. Black lives are being incarcerated. We're talking about all of it. But when Kamala gets nominated and prison stocks go up, it's like the mufflers go back on and everybody kind of settles back down. I don't think we can really fight for Black lives and talk about Black lives and then not talk about the things that are massively problematic to this community just because it's a Democrat thing.
Yeah.
We're
And
we're never ever going to fix this problem if we can't say, hey, people on both
Yeah.
sides are fucking this community over. What are we going to do about it?
Can I interject a point?
go ahead,
Please.
bro.
If you see a house is burning on fire, you're not going to throw gasoline on top of the house that's burning just
Right.
because you think gasoline is wet. It's
I like
stupid.
that analogy.
That's good. Yeah.
So just because you see the neighborhoods on fire with police violence, thinking that more police is added is going to do it when police have actually been escalating things,
Yep.
that is counterintuitive to what you've been doing.
Yeah.
So maybe, just maybe, some of these people who consider themselves leaders among Black people take a step back and really listen to what a lot of activists, especially on the ground, are saying, especially when it comes to defund the police. Because if they do, then they'll realize that instead of adding gasoline to it, we're adding water to the fire instead to put it out. And the funny thing is, I'm sure you guys are a lot more versed on policy than I am. You guys are brilliant. And so I'm sure you guys have seen when Bernie Sanders was actually discussing the 94 crime bill on the floor,
Yep.
and he was talking about that he would vote for the 94 crime bill, even though he is doing it solely for the Violence Against Women Act.
Mhm.
And he said, I don't really agree with this bill. We need to address why is it that there's more crime in these areas. And Joe
Right.
Biden never addresses the why.
Right.
Donald Trump
And,
never addresses the why. Because
yes.
if they address the why, then that would be detrimental to their donors.
Mhm.
It's not even. Well, I agree with you, But it's not just that he's
Mhm.
not addressing the why. He is obfuscating on purpose. And this is a point I want
Oh
people to
yeah,
understand. This is an
of
old
course.
school. I once again I agree with you 100%, but it's even more evil than that because not only that he don't understand it,
Hmm.
he is working CIA
Hmm.
tactics and talking points to discredit
Yeah.
the concern of police violence. And one thing, let's go back to
Yeah.
that statement there, because once again, I saw like a lot of people see it. A lot of people had a bad reaction to it, but one thing that wasn't said, what was missing? He condemned the rioters, he condemned the looters, but he did not call the police murderers.
Mhm.
He didn't say the police murdered a
Hmm.
mentally ill man. And trust
Yep.
me,
It's funny how different it sounds when you break it down like that, right? Like
yep,
if you say, "Oh, cops shot a black man armed with a knife," that sounds like one thing. But when you
yep,
actually break down, actually, a policeman murdered a mentally ill man
yep.
is actually what happened. It
And
sounds very different.
yeah, trust me. And every single word of that statement was very, very carefully chosen and carefully crafted. So they didn't
It is.
mention that the cops murdered a person. They also did not
Murder.
mention
And it
that there should
wasn't
be
him stabbing
justice.
distant.
They also didn't mention the fact that there should be justice for him. So
Well,
and
yeah,
at the
see,
same
Yeah, it was actually that's a great point. Not mentioned at all in the statement.
so in the
Yeah.
statement they want justice against the looters. They condemn the looters, but they don't
Did the
condemn the
same for
cops that actually
Breonna
kill
Taylor.
people. Yep.
It's funny how it took, I thought I was very disturbed, not even as disturbed as probably most people were by the memification of Breonna Taylor. That
Yeah.
I thought it was
That's
pretty
Hmm.
disturbing.
that was.
At the same time, it's amazing that when the huge general public thinks it's trendy to hashtag Breonna Taylor, you have, the highest ranking officials talking about justice for her. And that's what it takes.
And
It's so
and it's still
fucked.
not even happening.
And it's
th-
still
there's
not even
there's
happening.
a
It's
lot of
still not
moderates,
even
and
happening.
this is the shit. And there's another thing I have a problem with that statement, and this is goes to your point that you just brought up, Katie. Moderates, especially white moderates, they use Black Lives Matters and they use our struggle as decorations for their profile. That's it. Oh, let me get myself pulled back up here. Uh,
There
there
it
you
is.
go. There you go.
Oh,
Yeah,
It just takes a few seconds.
cops
But they
never stop
use
black
what I
man.
left off is they
Some else
use
crime is committed. I'm talking about need them, to be honest. We need education social workers.
yeah, I think but what I was saying before my Discord temporarily crashed is a lot of these white moderates they use Black Lives Matter and they use our struggle as decoration for their social media profiles. And I call it out because that is gross. That's deeply offensive. Because it'd be one thing if they support our demands, but they don't even support our demands. These people actively oppose the demands that we put in place. They actively oppose defund the police. And once again, I'm going back to that statement because I can't get over it. How bad that statement is. There was a point I pointed out where they quoted MLK, where they say, "Oh, this is not how you bend the moral arc to the universe toward justice." And once again, this is something else that liberals and Democrats do that drive me crazy is they unapologetically whitewash what MLK said. Do you still have that link, Alex, that I sent
Yep.
you? Because I want to pull up what
I
MLK
got
actually fucking said. Because MLK point was the reason why you have riots and you have protests is because of lack of justice. And so for them to quote MLK to condemn an act that MLK says is inevitable is unforgivable. And also another thing is they said that rioting and they say looting isn't protest. That's blatantly not true.
exactly,
Rioting and looting is protest, whether you fucking like it
exactly
or not.
process. And what
And
did Martin Luther King say about the white moderate? Because they never want to quote
Right?
that.
yeah.
exactly, let's see when we get that clip up.
Just let me know when you got it ready to go, like
Oh,
on
there we
your
go.
stream thing.
There we go. So
Good.
if you want to play that, because this is what he actually said. don't know why I can't hear it.
You not hear it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why either.
Trying to think if there's like a
Can
setting
you?
or
So
something.
can y'all hear it? Katie, Jay, Rome, y'all can hear it.
No, I don't hear it.
No, I don't hear it. I hear you, but I can't hear.
Yeah, I wonder if the here. Let me see. I can pull it up. I'm not sure why it's doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah, let me
I mean
pull
you
it up.
can pull it up obviously, but I'm just gonna try and see if I can find out why it's doing that.
Yeah, it's all good, bro. It's all good. But let me pull up what we mean. What we talking about here? Actually, first I'm gonna pull up the state. I'm gonna pull up the statement again. And I'll pull up MLK here. Because once again, I literally looked at this and I was like, man, I'm gonna pick this thing apart. Come on. So this is the part that will drive me crazy. The part where they says it does not bend the moral arc of the universe closer toward justice. That's them directly quoting MLK to attack protesters of Black Lives Matter. How gross is that? That is unbelievably gross. The fact that they did that. Now
I
you
think
have
they've misquoted MLK grossly historically.
Yep, that what the Democratic
Oh
Party
yeah.
is known to do, and
Oh,
that's why I've been on this rampage of calling out Obama and Black liberals because when I'm looking at my heroes, while looking at people who influence me on my politics, is our Black revolutionary leaders or intellectuals like MLK, W.B. Du Bois, Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, and we had an entire generation of leaders that completely turned their back on everything that they stand for. I'm not gonna get into
yes,
it
they
right
have.
now, but let's check out what MLK had to say here.
Summers of riots
Hmm.
are caused by our nation's winters of delay. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again. Social justice and progress are the absolute guarantors of riot prevention.
Same here, man.
Social
Short-lived
justice
since our nation
is the best way you prevent riots. That's what MLK said. So once again, I brought up the point that Biden uses techniques, and this is something that people don't talk about, and this is something that people don't understand. Whenever they direct toward rioting and looting, that's not an accident. That's 100% not an accident. Because you know what they won't deflect to? Because you had cops during the protests doing disgusting things towards protesters. I saw a video of one cop dragging someone out of the car and beating them down. So they always bring up the protesters, they always bring up the rioters, they always bring up the looters, but they don't bring up the fact that the cops will tear gas civilians, which is a war crime. They won't bring up the actual crime. So they use rioting, they use looting, they use that as a distraction so you don't talk about the issue. So you see Republicans do that all the time. So instead of even talking about Black Lives Matter, they go towards rioting, they go towards looting. Once again, that's not an accident. That's a technique as old as the civil rights era. They used that same technique in the
Yeah.
60s, where there was actually
Hmm.
there's a piece as well that showed that a lot of white moderates and a lot of white liberals, about 59% of them disapproved of the sit-ins and of the bus riots. And then when the media reported at the time, they reported it as the civil rights movement going too far. They are they are doing the sit-ins. They're like this is an old technique that is decades old. So when you see
Sit-ins,
Joe Biden,
looting, t-shirts,
go ahead.
everything that's peaceful is ignored. It's not even ignored. Every peaceful protest up until this point is ridiculed. They say, "Oh, you're disrespectful. You're not, treating the flag right. Oh, why do you have to bring politics into sports?" There's no peaceful way to do it. You have to fucking burn shit down. It's
But
the only
even when it is peaceful, like I was tear gassed in Milwaukee because someone threw a plastic water bottle and the cops claimed that's a Molotov, and so we got tear gassed.
I think that
Even when we're peacefully.
people have been left with no option. There's
This
no other option.
this is what I'm talking about here. So even the article I read, just breaking down the protest. I checked out a CNN article talking about the Walter Wallace shooting, and it's a coordinated attack from the CIA and the police state to defend and obfuscate this issue. Because what they always do, they say, "Oh, the thing is, you got these rioters," and one thing about the CNN article I read, one of the first things they pointed out, there was like 30 police officers were injured the night of the protest. And when I saw that, I was like, "Who gives a fuck?" That's not the story. Like, apparently, you got these people who are paid a lot of money to be police officers. Yes, there's risk involved. Why the fuck is that your main center? That was like the main center of the article. They're like, yeah, there was a shooter, protest, but there was all the police officers that were being injured. I'm like, who gives a fuck? But at the same
That's what
time,
they signed up for.
if
That's
you
a
do think,
better
yeah,
response than I had.
if you think that is worth covering, why isn't this worth covering? I'm not gonna play the full video because I don't know the video worked properly. But in this video, you had police officers in Philadelphia. They smashed the window of a passing vehicle, dragged the parents out, and beat them on the ground in front of their children. So if you don't think you don't think the way they covered this is an accident, why don't they talk about this on CNN? Why didn't they bring this up on CNN instead of bringing up the fact that there were rioters and protesters? Why did they bring up the fact that there was injured police officers instead of bringing up the fact that you had people being assaulted by the police? And anyone that's active on Twitter know, anytime there's giant protests and there giant rallies, there are citizen journalists on the ground that will show videos of police. Like the one that I will never forget is a guy who was on the ground and a police officer rode over his head with his bicycle for no reason. That was a pretty viral video. Did CNN show that one? Did CNN bring that up when they were talking about the riot and protest? Once again,
Of course not.
my thing is nothing. My mindset in politics and my mindset when things being reported, there is nothing is an accident. So everything they talk about is they talk about for a reason. So when they bring up the fact that cops was injured on the protest, they do that so they can build sympathy for the cops. And they bring up the riot and protest so they can obfuscate away from the issue that the fact that the cops literally killed of someone going through a mental health crisis. So once again, everything the media does, they say for a reason. Go ahead, Ron. I think you had something to
CNN
say.
had strategy. CNN been doing the same strategy, same strategy since the Iraq War.
Yep.
They sold it to the people and they think it was about whatever they was at. Yeah. So this is the same thing they was doing then. They was putting fear in us. The naysayers and whistleblowers. They was doing the same thing Fox was doing during Obama administration. You know, they just sell fear. They repackage it every other year, and they put it right back out there. Everybody else just eat it back up, and it's so crazy. It only hurts me because I know black people watching the fuck out of CNN. I know black people, that's like where they get their information from. And now sitting there getting watching.
Yeah, your mic is still breaking up, bro.
People that's actually on the ground instead of millionaires protecting their billionaire bosses.
Your mic is still breaking up, bro. It's all good. But the reason why I cover it the way I'm covering,
to me, especially with CNN.
My point was the reason why I cover the way this story the way I cover, because you're gonna get coverage on this from a lot of different shows. A lot of people are gonna talk about the Walter Wallace. My angle is I want people to understand that none of what the media reports on and none of the action the Democratic Party does is on accident. For example, I looked at multiple stories about this incident. Not one of them shared this. Why do they think this is important to share? So they have police abolitionists and they have activists on the ground. And after this case, they release their demands. And this is what is extremely important when you move in making and you move in building to have the demands. So when they talk about these protests, instead of bringing up rioting and looting, why don't they bring up this? Why don't they bring up this? Once again, everything they do is on purpose.
Go ahead, side, I think the other side of that coin is the people, and it all comes back to capitalism at the end of the day, is that doesn't feel good to us. Like comfortable people, we don't want to hear about it,
Yeah.
And so they go like, it's like on it's like they want to sell what people want to digest, and then those fuckers at the top are utilizing that thing, where we don't want to be confronted with shit because of privilege. And it's two things happening. Like, people need to confront this shit.
Yeah.
I think the movement's stopping. It's not stopping, but it's slowing down a lot. People are sick and tired of being uncomfortable, and they're using that against us,
And
Does
this
that make sense?
and this, yeah, I hear you. And this is exactly why I wanted to
I'm
bring you
always
on, Katie,
high,
because we agree on this a lot. And that's important because one of my issues I've been having a lot with a lot of even white progressive allies is they put our struggle on the back burner. And
Mhm.
I noticed this over the last few weeks. It seems like a lot of white progressives, they care more about saving money on healthcare. They want to increase their own wages. And that's where they stand. That's it. So people will never
Right.
understand why I'm voting for the Green Party and why I won't back Joe Biden. But my thing is, Joe Biden is responsible for the crime bill. He's responsible for the bankruptcy bill. He, as an individual public servant, is probably more responsible for the damage to the black community than anyone else. Anyone
Mhm.
else. But
Makes
you
it
have
so
a lot.
comfortable because he's not Trump and he's blue, and I've been voting Democrat my whole life.
Yep.
And I'm a good person because I've been voting blue. That's what
Yep.
we're up against.
And that's
You know what I mean?
and you're the kind of ally that I look for. You're the kind of ally that listens to our struggles, and you want to act on that instead of doing what I see a lot of other white progressives doing, where they are attacking me and they are attacking other progressive people of color because they refuse to vote for a guy who has been their oppressor and someone who is responsible for directly for to destroying their community. Now, back at this here, I want to look at this here because I think this is important going to the policy because like what do you do what exactly do we do about this? So the first demand is we demand an authentic defunding the police budget. Simple defund the police because why would they have all those resources instead of having mental health care on the forefront? And once again, the reason why I want to show this because a lot of media people are not doing this. I don't understand for a million years why people are so focused on showing rioting, but they'll say stuff like this. They'll say instead of rioting, protests, there are more productive ways of doing that, and that's why this is a trick because that allows CNN, that's allowed media people, and that allowed the political sphere to talk about the riot and protest instead of this. Instead of this. Why isn't this the main center of attention? That's done on purpose. So immediately cease the criminalization of black resistance. Um, yeah, that's pretty much talking about tear gas. Cause I work with 10 demands, and this kind of a lot of stuff we talked about earlier before. How they one thing they do purposely is they criminalize black resistance. They criminalize protesting by having all these ridiculous rules. They give police a lot of ways to fight illegally to protest. Because Alice, you brought up a good point earlier. How I remember I was in the KC protest. I reported it on the ground. We was tear gas and there was no violence going on
Mhm.
at the time.
Oh yeah, there was nothing at all where I was either. We were all just. I mean, there were a line of cops that had riot gear on. We were all yelling at them, but
Yeah,
no violence whatsoever.
yeah, there was actually a video I saw after the fact on Twitter that actually blew up because where we was at this park in Kansas City and there was this big fountain and there was literally kids sitting on the fountain where most of the action was going on was near the street because there were a lot of protesters that was matching the police on the street. There was this area where people was kind of just chilling, like they was kind of relaxing, and then that's where they threw the tear gas. And there was a fire that started because of that. Guess who took out the fire? The protesters, not the cops. The cops started that fire by throwing the tear gas. And that's what they do. And that was
Yeah.
completely unprovoked. I was there. There was no violence or
And
nothing. They
then,
do that to escalate. What was that, Katie?
and then they say it got violent because of Black Lives Matter protesters. Black Lives Matter is a violent organization. And then they say that on the news. And you're like, no, you
Yeah,
motherfuckers.
I like I
It's so
like I like I like this demand as well. Immediately and permanently remove all symbols of state violence. Um,
But you
taking out the Christopher Columbus
gotta
statue. That's number 3. And then you have the permanent release of these activists here. Boom, 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 boom. immediate release of all vulnerable individual in prisons, switch firing of killer cops and community response. That's obviously super crucial. Abolish the fraternal order of police and police advisory committees, and the military occupation of black community. That's a big part of defund the police that a lot of people don't think about as well. Protection for Black Philadelphia and our carceral systems. Disband all private police departments. Fund communities, not cops. Economic justice now. And the reason why I bring this up, and once again, I'm part of a police abolition group, because how do you? A lot of white moderates see a lot of things in that list, and they immediately like, "Whoa, what?" But you gotta think about it this way. What is exactly the point of law enforcement? What are they supposed to accomplish? They're supposed to help prevent crime, and that's the mindset that a lot of conservatives have when they talk about why we shouldn't defund the police. But if you look at a lot of those, if you look at a lot of the demands there and a lot of the demands that we push on 10 demands itself, our main focus is techniques on how we can um, lower the crime rate itself. So, especially the part when we talk about economic justice, funding the communities, having education funding, all these things are techniques on how you actually reduce the crime rate. These are things that actually been proven to be effective, and having these community patrols, community organizers, instead of spending all this money on the militarization of the police itself. So,
And there's
Mhm.
there's like
Well,
this.
Yeah.
There's a 2 panel comic that I keep going back to. That basically, like, I just put it on the stream.
yeah, go ahead, bro.
Like,
Let me see
it's
it.
it's basically perfect for trying to tell someone like why you think defund the police is a good move.
That's awesome. Let me check this out. Defund the
Yeah.
police. How are you supposed to care?
Yeah. I've
There it
seen that.
is. Yeah, I mean
I
that's a great
Yeah,
point.
if
Hmm.
if a kid is getting abused by their parent, let's say, and the neighbor calls the cops, they don't really need a couple of soldiers marching in the house to de-escalate that. They
you
need
need a social worker.
they need, I think that the trauma that seeing these heavily armed, intense people walk into your house,
Yes, that's a
I think
great point.
it's traumatizing.
Yeah, that's a great point. Actually, Angela Davis made that point, and it's funny. I covered this on my show. When do liberals like to bring up Angela Davis? They brought her up when she said she want to vote for Joe Biden, but she
And
released
never
an
any other.
op-ed. She released an op-ed a few weeks ago talking about why um, police abolition is a very important thing, and she talks about the trauma of having an occupied force in your community. And that's actually a very, very great point you brought up, because that's something that Angela Davis she talked about in great detail. By having these occupied forces, you strip people of their independence. You make them more likely to lash out. But when people don't have
Absolutely.
control and they feel like they don't have control, it it creates a culture of negativity, and that's pretty much a giant part that Angela Davis was talking about, and that's why getting rid of the military police and the police force in the communities is super, super important.
I
Hmm.
have to hop off
Yeah.
of this, and I hate that. But if I come back and you're still
No,
on,
it's
I'm
all
gonna hop
good.
back in.
No, it's all
My vet's
good.
about to call me.
No, it's
Okay.
all good. Thank you for hopping on, Katie. Thanks for
I
hopping on.
love talking to you guys. I'll see if you're back on when I'm off the call.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Take care, Katie.
All right. Let's see.
Let me
I
see.
just want to bring it up.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
All right.
I wanted to bring it up. Good point. You asked the question, what is the purpose of law enforcement? It's in the name, to enforce the law. But when you have people who commit crimes of opportunity and crimes of desperation, then law enforcement is going to enforce the laws on those people. But the thing is that if you can prevent the laws from being broken in the first place by presenting opportunity and resources to keep away the desperation, then that means law enforcement doesn't really have to, they don't have to enforce laws that are being broken.
Mhm.
So really, and a lot of, one thing that I wanted to bring up, and this is from a right-wing perspective. Okay, why are we putting so much burden on police officers to do jobs that they are not qualified to do? It's not fair to
Good
them
point.
either.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
Yeah. So for people to want to put all this on police officers is really it's disingenuous to them. If you care so much about blue lives, then why are you putting so much pressure on them
Yeah, I don't know.
and making actually defunding the police actually will save blue lives,
Exactly.
but they don't think about that way.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone had. I hear a little bit of feedback. Not sure exactly where it's coming from. Yeah, I hear a little echo. Where that comes from? But yeah, that's a solid point. That's exactly why I wanted to cover and give my perspective on it, because I'm looking towards the future as well. I wonder
Yeah.
who, because I hear it. I hear an echo. I'm not sure where it's coming from.
Yeah, I think it's looping through Rome's computer, whatever you're using right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get that. I'm gonna see if I can get there. We go. I think it's fixed now. I think it's fixed now. I really want to show the Biden video. Let me see when we get that pulled up again. Because I saw that just before I came on.
Yeah.
And he sounds just like Trump here. Like that's why I can't get over it.
What else is new?
And this is why I don't understand why people assume that there's gonna be any sort of black justice under this man, because I really do believe that Joe Biden's administration, his future administration, you're gonna see a crackdown on Black Lives Matter when he get in charge. And they already kind of setting the stage. And you're gonna have the media that's complicit with him as well. Let's see exactly what he had to say here. Even if the video doesn't work that well, at least we can hear it. I think at this point he's just kind of walking out. Let's send him ahead.
Taking the time to cover it, and as we are.
Mr. Beck, the shooting in Philadelphia, what do you say to Philadelphia residents that are outraged by yet another unarmed black man being shot by police?
What I say is that there is no excuse whatsoever for the looting and the violence. None whatsoever. I think to be able to protest is totally legitimate, is totally reasonable, but I think that the looting is just as...
Looting is protest.
The victim's father said, do not do this. It's not what my son... You're not helping. You're hurting. You're not helping my son. And there are certain things we're going to have to do as we move along, and I know the local folks in Philadelphia are thinking about it as well, and that is how we deal with, how you diminish the prospect of lethal shooting in circumstances like the one we saw. That's going to be part of the commission I set up to determine how we deal with these things. But
He's been very careful to not say the word murder. And that's not
Of
an
course.
accident.
On your healthcare plan, do you have a bill ready to drop? And what did you
The lethal shooting.
that's kind of died? How do you
Lethal shooting.
They got a lot of great ways they can bounce around that.
Well, yeah, they usually say like police involved shooting or something like that. It's like, no, a
Yeah.
cop shot somebody.
But you know, that's the first thing he brought up. That's like literally the first thing he brought up was
The first thing he said was that the looting and violence has no, there's no reason for it ever. And it's like, has he been, like, I know his brain's not all there, but like, has he been locked in a time machine or something and not watching?
Not really.
Joe Biden's being Joe Biden.
I mean, I know, but
Yeah, it's
He
funny
can't
because
criticize. He can't. I'm sorry about that. Somebody keep calling my phone.
no, you are good. I hear
He
you.
can't
I hear you.
He can't criticize. He can't criticize. What the fuck?
I think
You see me ignore your call the first time. Well, anyways, let me say this, and I'm gonna dip off and dip back on and get back on. he
It's all
can't
good.
criticize the police because this is the system that he created. And if
That's a
he
great
was to
point.
sit here and say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh well, the police are out of control," and somebody needs to put a stop to this, whatever, it all goes back to the bills that you wrote, and he can blame the states for taking it too far if he want, but this is his creation. And
Yep.
like I always tell the God believers, that I talk to about politics and stuff like that. It's like, man, you asking Joe Biden to get rid of police brutality and all your problems is like asking your God to get rid of your cancer. I put it there for a reason.
Yeah, and you're never gonna have Joe Biden erase the work that's his crown achievement. The crime bill, the bankruptcy bill, and
Yep.
it's funny
Patriot
because
Act.
And Patriot Act.
it's funny because Trump he came out with an ad a few days ago, and I've been pretty open with the fact what I think is gonna happen. I think Biden's gonna win, and the reason why I think Biden's gonna win has nothing to do with Joe Biden. It has everything to do with the fact that Donald Trump has ran a horrible campaign that I can't even wrap my head
Mm-hmm.
around. Like in
I can't believe
2016,
you let these people out there.
yeah, I saw that
Yeah, I mean,
too.
they're both straight up trying to lose, and Trump's just better at it.
But he released an ad a few days ago. It was like, bro, why wasn't you doing this the entire time? He released an ad that showed Bernie Sanders ripping him on the debate stage, talking about how he's gonna cut Social
Yeah.
Security, and how
Yeah.
he advocated for cutting Social Security and Medicare for such a very long time. And he showed Bernie Sanders ripping them apart. It's like, bro, if you did that the entire course of this campaign, we have a completely different story. But what are they focusing on right now? In the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of an economic collapse, in the middle of a massive homelessness crisis, after 8 million Americans just fell into poverty this year, they focusing on Hunter Biden. They are pretending that he's some sort of far left Antifa secret grandpa that's being bankrolled and controlled by Bernie Sanders. It's like, dude, you could not have possibly ran a worse campaign. You cannot because that
Bread and roses.
because it's like, bro, you could hit Joe Biden on the fact that he cut Social Security, that he advocated for cutting Social Security his entire career, that he advocated cutting Medicaid his entire career. That's an
He could
easy
have hit him
attack
on
on.
the Iraq War, dude.
Yes, and the
Yeah,
fact that he
and
lied about it.
as much as Trump ran on the Iraq War against the Iraq War, I'm sorry, as much as Trump ran against the Iraq War, I'm surprised he's not bringing this up every chance he get. Even when he was on the debate stage, he said little to nothing about it. But when it came to
Yeah.
Hillary, he was on her
Exactly.
toes about it.
I
Like,
think
Yeah.
that shows how much power that the deep state have and the permanent state have against Trump because Trump has ramped up drone strikes and one thing that drives me crazy is when people pretend that Trump is anti-war. He had
no,
anti-war rhetoric on the campaign, but he pretty much governed as a war hawk,
yeah,
and he actually did something that I find pretty unforgivable. He rolled back a regulation that required them to report on civilian deaths on drone strikes because his drone strikes were so high, he completely got rid of that part of where we report on civilian strikes. So I think Trump knew that he's a warmonger and war criminal, so he couldn't attack Biden on that. But he still run this fake populist thing where he could attack Joe Biden on being an architect of the Iraq War. Because one thing that Biden lies about all the time, especially during the campaign, that drove me crazy, and this is more proof that he's just like Trump, is that he lied about his support of the Iraq War. Because he always like, oh well, George Bush and the Republicans, they tricked us. The only reason why I supported that war is because I got bad information. If I had the information that we knew now, I wouldn't have supported that war. That's a lie.
then
Joe
he
Biden was on
called
the
him out. Bernie Sanders said, "Y'all gonna trust somebody who didn't know if Bush were lying or not?" And that's when Joe had said, Joe was like, "I knew Bush was lying," and Nancy Pelosi said the same thing.
Yeah.
We knew Bush was lying, but
they still voted for it anyway. So, like, doesn't that make you just as bad?
yes,
Yeah, they
it makes you
implicated
worse.
themselves. And not even that, once again, that's even a lie itself. Because Joe Biden was on the Senate Foreign Committee. Like
Yeah, he knew.
he was literally one of the reasons why they was able to whip votes up for Democrats because he was on the Senate Foreign Committee, one of those foreign committees he was on, and he was a staunch advocate of going into Iraq as early as 1998. Like he was advocating for him back then. So when George Bush came out and he was pushing the Iraq War. Joe Biden gave an impassioned speech on the Senate floor, and there's a lot of reporting how behind the scene Joe Biden was twisting arms to get the vote. So it's like, bro, you could attack him on that. You could attack him on the crime bill. You could attack him on the bankruptcy bill. And the bankruptcy bill is something I cover on my show. I almost want to do a whole another spot on it because a lot of people talk about the damage that Joe Biden done on the black community. And the first thing they always bring up is the crime bill, which is a great starting point. Don't get me wrong. That's a great starting point. But people underestimate the damage that was done by the bankruptcy bill, especially towards the black community. Because there are some amendments that are part of the bankruptcy bill that Biden voted against. That's like, what? Why would you vote for that? Like, he voted against easing the burden of people with medical debt. He voted against an amendment that would have made it easier for widows of military spouses to get health care and help them deal with it. Like, what? Like, this is some comically evil stuff. Like, imagine if Trump brought that up instead of pretending that Joe Biden wants to give people health care.
And that's a big reason why millennials and probably Zoomers now are so in debt. One of the big things, part of that bankruptcy bill, was that you can't purge student debt ever.
Yep.
So we're all just stuck with it now.
Yep. And not one question asked. I mean, while I do my post debate, I'm like, where are these questions at? These questions are trash. How many questions was asked about the student loan crisis during any of these debates? Not one. Not one question about the homelessness crisis that's going on right now.
They know it make both of them look terrible.
Yeah. So anyway, we're about an hour and a half in, and I got my peoples coming here. I think I'm probably gonna end it here soon. Anything that you guys want to bring up before we wrap it up here? We don't have to do a super long stream here.
No, I'm about to just lay down.
I just wanted to bring up, because this doesn't get talked about much, is advocacy for expanding Social Security.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that those of us who get Social Security disability benefits in retirement, and that's our only sole source of income, we are a hair's breadth above the poverty line. Yeah. And you've seen people like Bernie Sanders who talked about expanding Social Security, but his expansion of Social Security didn't go far enough, even in my view.
Yep.
And one of the things that I learned, which I was surprised by, is that when you're taxed for Social Security and your income, you're only taxed up to $130,000 of your income. Yeah. So if you're making $10 million, only the first $130,000 are taxed for Social Security. The rest,
nothing.
Is nothing. Wow. You don't get taxed at all on it.
And so just repeat that, just so I can make sure I understand. So you said you don't. Okay. Say it one more time, just so we have 100. I missed it. Say it one more time.
Okay. So people are only taxed on up to $130,000 of their income on Social Security.
Right.
If you make $10 million, the first $130,000 gets taxed for Social Security. Social Security, but the rest doesn't get taxed at all.
Right.
So the Bill Gates of the world, the Jeff Bezos of the world, the Elon Musks, they're barely paying anything into Social Security at all. In retrospect to their income.
And that's why I was a big supporter of Sanders. Exactly, just for the same reason you did. And that's why I like the Green Party platform right now. Because the Green Party, they said their platform is double Social Security. That's on their platform.
Yeah.
And as someone who is openly a policy-based voter, when I saw that's something I'm like, man, how can I not vote for that platform? How can I not try and help? Like, there's people that got hang-ups on Howie Hawkins in the Green Party, and I get it.
Of course.
I get it. But what's more what's more realistic? Is it more realistic to move a party left that has no indication of moving left, or is it more realistic for us to take over the Green Party and reform it? Right. Like, yes, I have problems with the Green Party.
We can actually all run under the Green Party. Like,
exactly.
Us five right here. If we all wanted to get up and just do something under the Green Party, we'd have, a platform and no overheads or dinosaurs trying to tear us down when we get too big.
Yeah, and I advocate for this. And go ahead, Jay. Go ahead, Trey.
I'd rather deal with the Green Party with all this issues than the Democratic Party or Republican Party with their
Oh,
issues.
for sure.
Exactly. Exactly. And my thing is like once again, people will say, "Oh, we should take over and we should form the Democrat Party," but then they'll be like, "Oh, I don't like the Green Party because they got issues." Motherfucker, let's change it. like so you
Yeah.
okay with the Democrat Party with their many issues, but you don't think we can take
Right.
over the Green Party? That doesn't make sense at face value. And another thing
Yeah.
is, I'm a big supporter of the movement of the People's Party as well. And there's something that goes
Yeah.
on the left where and this and to be clear, Nick Brana doesn't do this. Nick Brana is awesome at not excluding the Green Party and not attacking the Green Party. Nick Brana argument, he just
Hmm.
don't think the Green Party is doing enough, but he doesn't attack them. He doesn't demean them. But there are a lot of supporters of the People's Party who feel like there's like some sort of rivalry with the Green Party, and that's completely unnecessary.
Mhm.
My ideal
No.
scenario is Green Party get 5%, increase the federal funding, expand their power, and then when the People's Party come into play, we will have two powerful left wing organizations. Now imagine this.
Mhm.
So they can coordinate so we don't run against each other and still votes. But imagine you have a scenario where you have a Green Party Senate candidate being prompted by the MPP. Or if you have an MPP Senate candidate being prompted by the Green Party as well. So we can literally have two strong anti-establishment left-wing movements that work together. And one reason why I was impressed by the People Party, and this is what they do better than the Green Party. The Green Party, I think the Green Party, one of their biggest mistakes is they don't focus on direct action enough. So
Yep.
what you could do is MPP, they do a good job of that. They help organize the Occupy Congress. They'll organize a few general strikes as well. Imagine if you had these two organizations combine their organizational power and have direct action initiatives like this. You can have the Green Party have their direct action, and you had the MVP back them up. Like we can have you can have a progressive candidate that run in any party, whether it be NPP, Green
Mhm.
Party, Democrat, and then you can have them all coalesce. You know how the centrists coalesced against us? Have the NPPs and you have the Greens. Let's say you have a very progressive, like for example, Lisa Savage in Maine right now.
Mhm.
Imagine we had if in a future scenario we had two strong parties and they all endorse the progressive candidate and they organize and rally behind them. This is what I
Mhm.
see. This is what I imagine. Because when I look at the Democrat Party and
Mhm.
when I look at what we're dealing with right now, beyond the pale. And I don't see any way
Yeah.
that's going to change
Yeah.
without the left wing pressure. And we have a strong Green Party, and if we have a strong movement of People's Party, like once again, there's literally zero reason for them to be rivals. Zero reason. Like we can
Yeah.
work together.
Yeah.
Like even if they ran on the presidential ticket and they ran against each other, do what fucking the centrists did. Like you can have a Green Party candidate, MVP candidate, see who's doing better, then form Voltron. Form Voltron so
Yep.
we can get
Yeah.
them more. Once
Yeah.
again, there's a lot of things we can do. And this is
Oh,
my
of course.
small
Yeah.
criticism, but I don't know if I cut you off, Jay. I don't know if you went add on that.
Well, yeah. You know, I really want to piggyback on your point about the Green Party. The only reason why a lot of people, especially who are saying things against the MPP, is because you had some people who during their convention that were advocating for voting for Joe Biden instead, and then you had some on the other side that were advocating for voting for Howie Hawkins. But the thing is that what they don't realize is that the MPP is completely disconnected as far as who they're endorsing. The
Yeah,
party is not endorsing anyone. And I think people just don't get that through their heads. They think, oh, well, they are all in the tank for neoliberals when that's not the case at all. And
yeah,
so to combine strengths together, like the way you said, I actually think that's a great way of coalition building. Because if you take both, I I'd rather have two progressive party candidates running against each other than a neoliberal and a progressive running against each other.
Yeah.
exactly. That's a
It
great
just makes
point.
more sense. It's like, can you imagine if Gene Debs was alive today and he ran against Bernie Sanders and they were both running against each other during the primary? Like,
Yep.
That'd be awesome.
then
Yep.
that would be it would be the less, and we would have to choose the greater of two goods.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what
It'll
we
be
want.
exact opposite. And you have this,
Yeah.
and this is why this is why I criticize progressive leaders as well, because there's
Hmm.
zero reason from my
Yeah. Yeah.
calculation for AOC and for the squad not to be more supportive of third party candidates and be more supportive of progressive candidates no matter what they ran. Because I look, this is the argument I made, and we can discuss this and we can head off pretty soon here.
Okay.
AOC and the squad, the first term I get was tricky. I get it. You guys are entering
Hmm.
politics for the first time, representing a new wing. But now, after seeing this past election, where they spend a ton of money to defeat you, and you guys won by a landslide, almost every member of the squad won by a landslide. I think the smallest victory was I think Ilhan had the smallest victory and she won by like 10 points. I think that was or if no, I think she probably won by more than that. But either way, my point is
I think it was more.
they all won by a landslide. So you are
Hmm.
electorally safe. So if you're proven
Hmm.
to be electorally safe, why aren't you throwing your movement around? Like, why aren't you supporting Cori Bush when she ran against Lance Clay? Why aren't you
Yeah.
supporting Jen? Why aren't you giving a bump to the Green Party when you need it? I think, and I get why it's not 100% safe right now, but if we had a powerful a Green Party that can hit 5%, and you have a powerful movement of the People's Party being led by Nina Turner, Marianne Wilson, and their crew, um, I think that's the time. I think you need to help back them up. I think you
Hmm.
need help prop them up because I think
Yeah.
that's the only way we can get the Democrats to respond to us. The only way we can get the
Hmm.
Democrats to respond to us if we show we are an active electorate that we could be won over. So, for example,
Hmm.
if you're one of the people that stay home, the Democrats are going to look at you as someone who stay home. But if you vote for the Green Party, they're going to see that percentage. If you vote for the NPC, they're going to see that percentage of the vote that they could win over. And when they see, for example, if Democrats run and they lose the election by 3-4%, and the Green Party candidates get 5%, that's the signal that's votes you have to get. Now the argument against that is like, well, the Democrats are not going to care. They're going to shift to the right even more. This is the argument I literally seen people use against me. Like, well, if you don't vote for the Democrats, they're going to shift to the right. Okay, they can shift to the right all they want. The voters not shifting right. That's how the squad was born. The Democrats shifted to the right after Trump won, but the voters will stay left. That's how we got AOC. That's how we got Ilhan. That's how we got Rashida Tlaib. That's how we got Cori Bush now. That's how we got Jamal Bowman. That's how Paula Jean Swergan won her primary. Because the party will always do what they do, but if they lose, if the moderate loses in their pursuit, it will only help the left because it hurts their electability argument, and it will make it so more likely so people will vote for the progressive candidate. Because this primary, there was literally polls that showed that people were voting for Joe Biden even though they supported Medicare for all because they thought he would win. But so imagine if moderates keep losing, and then you have
Mhm.
progressive candidates, and then you have moderate people that run against the progressive candidates. Well, people to be like, well, no, we don't trust that motherfucker. Moderates lost last time, and that doesn't happen over the course of just one election cycle. Maybe it takes 20. Cause it took Hillary losing. It may take a few more moderates losing. More they lose these seats, I think the more the left will grow. And that's why we even had the squad in the first place.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's exactly why I think we should grow both of those parties, and that's why I think we should continue to move on that. Um, moving forward. That's why, man. The when I saw Joe Biden statements and when I seen them doubling down on CIA talking points, directing towards where they shift focus towards the rioters and looters, and when I see that's their main focus, it made me super happy that it made me so happy that I ended up voting for the Green Party because I don't want to be able to live myself
Yeah.
voting for Joe Biden at the end of
Yeah.
the day because I think even if in a scenario where Trump won, we in the same position. And when I mean
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
people who are disenfranchised because when people
Oh
talk about
yeah.
harm reduction, I learned this recently. When they say harm reduction, they really mean harm reduction for the white middle class.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they mean
Yeah.
identity. Yeah, yeah. Harm reduction for the identity of the white male. That's
Yep.
all it really is.
They always seem to forget that we're gonna like Joe Biden is already saber rattling about bombing the shit out of other countries too. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
I want to. Yeah.
harm reduction for who?
Yeah.
I can almost do a whole nother stream on that because like Obama.
Yeah.
Actually, let me see if I can find that one. That'd be a good clip to end on. I want to break this down. I want to find this Obama clip because he was giving a
Yeah.
rally excuse me, he was giving a rally for Joe Biden. He was attacking Trump, and what he was attacking Trump on was he was attacking him on the right. Let's see if I can pull it up here.
Mm-hmm.
And he sounded like an unhinged imperialist while he was doing it.
That's literally what he is. So it's about
Yeah.
time he shows his true colors.
Yeah, let's I'm finding it right now. So once again, we can at least listen to it. And the reason why I want to show it because like as someone who follows foreign policy and who knows the talking points, like once you know the talking points, you can't unhear it. You can't unhear the stupidity. I found it here. Let me show you what he says here, and I'm gonna break down why it's absolutely horrible. Here we go. Let me pull that up here.
You think he's going to stand up to dictators? He thinks Leslie Stahl's a bully.
Talking about Trump here.
Just yesterday, he said that Putin of Russia, Xi of China, and Kim Jong-un of North Korea want him to win. We know. We know because you've been giving them whatever you want. For the last 4 years, of course they want you to win.
Let me bring something up. I didn't finish the clip because it's hard to finish the whole damn clip. You know, there was actually a recent interview. You would never hear them talk. You would never ever hear them talk about this on cable news. You know, there was actually a recent interview where Putin said he would prefer Biden to win. You know, anyone know that?
I didn't hear that actually.
My friend told me about it. My friend told me like, man, I don't really care if I don't want Trump to win. You know why? Because Trump pulled out of the nuclear arm agreement again for Russia, which escalated the new Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
He armed Ukrainian rebels, and I was talking to my boy Mitch about this the other day. One of the most underreported stories, even from a lot of progressive media outlets, I read about this summer. Because there was a story that came out last fall on how they were discussing expanding CIA powers in terms of attacking infrastructure. And Trump approved that, and the CIA and a lot of other intelligence communities were launching cyber warfare and attacking financial institutions of Russia and Iran. This is something that even Obama didn't approve of. Even Obama didn't approve of Ukrainian rebels. So I just wanted to bring that up before I finish the clip so you know how full of shit Obama is. So Trump did things that even Obama considered to be ramping up attention against Russia. Let me finish this clip. It's hard to watch.
That's not a good thing.
That is a good thing.
You shouldn't brag about the fact that some of our greatest adversaries think they'd be better off with you in office.
Russia isn't my anyone here? Did Russia harm you? What did Russia do to you, Jay? Rome?
Right.
Did Russia? Did Putin? What did Putin do? Is Putin responsible for you not getting Social Security number?
Russia, they came over from the Bering Strait in Alaska, and he tried to hit me over the head with a vodka bottle. Man, that is just. So damn you, Putin! Damn you!
Yeah. So we were talking about Social Security earlier.
Yeah.
Is Putin responsible for you not getting the Social Security money you need, Jay?
I'm sorry. What was the question?
I say, is Putin responsible for you not getting the Social Security benefits that you require? Is Putin responsible?
Oh yeah. If it wasn't for places like Putin, Deutsche Bank, Burisma, Hunter Biden, the globalists. Yeah.
It went for them.
It's China the reason. The fact that people want to put so much blame on Vladimir Putin for America's problems because America has done some shit policies. Putin is not the president of the United States. And Putin is not Congress.
Yeah.
You know, Putin's not the reason why 68,000 people a year die because they don't have medical care. Yeah. It's not Putin.
And in Rome,
it's the United States.
Is Putin the reason why Flint never had a water fix? Is Putin? I heard Putin responsible for Flint. The problem was in Michigan. Shit. I mean, did I heard that Putin or the assassination of Walter
Man,
Wallace.
these
I heard
Russians
that
so sneaky, man.
the whole
They
thing. I
sneaky,
mean, maybe Walter Wallace would be alive if it went for Putin. You never know.
man.
Let me go. Let me
The
play this whole
Russians
clip
are
from the
sneaky.
beginning.
I look, yo, I heard Putin's part of the blood gang, and he tried to come after the Crips. Red. That's Russia's color. You know what I'm saying?
Good point.
Here, let me see if I can get through this whole clip. I paused it like halfway through, but there's nothing I want to bring up as well.
Our current president, he whines that 60 Minutes is too tough. You think he's going to stand up to dictators? He thinks Leslie Stahl's a bully. Just yesterday, he said that Putin of Russia, Xi of China, and Kim Jong-un of North Korea want him to win. We know. We know because you've been giving them whatever they want for the last 4 years. Of course they want you to win. That's not a good thing. You shouldn't brag about the fact that some of our greatest adversaries think they'd be better off with you in office. Of course they do.
He's completely unhinged.
What does that say about you? I mean, think about that. Why are you bragging about that?
Like for him and neoliberal warmongers, like they can't even wrap their mind around chasing peace. Because do you know why? Do you know why they want North Korea want Trump to win? Because Trump actually went for a nuclear agreement with them.
Mm-hmm. They're actually treating them like people.
Yeah, Biden and Obama sanctioned the shit out of them. And who do you think are hurt by those sanctions? Do you think
Poor people.
Do you think the rulers are hurt by that? Nope. It's the ordinary civilians.
Always poor people. Always.
Yep.
Just
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
Always.
So what Obama is attacking him for appealing towards peace. How gross is that? And not only that, he said, "Oh, we got Trump. He don't stand up to dictators." Obama, bro, we back all the dictators. we back majority of the world's dictators. We back. So it's like when
exactly
South America,
like
or the Middle East,
like it's like Obama. Where were you? When it comes to Israel doing what they're doing to the Palestinians, where are you?
I was just about to bring that up.
Where are you?
We're living.
Why Obama? Why aren't you talking about Saudi Arabia and all the crap that they do against people? People who are like me, LGBTQ folks who are being murdered just because of who we love, and then on top of it, you have women being oppressed on top of it. So wait, this is the pot calling the kettle black, right?
Exactly. It's like
it's stupid.
And when people don't understand why I hate the Democrat Party so much, it's because when you learn about foreign policy, when you learn about this, like if you don't know about foreign policy, you hear Obama speak like that, it doesn't sound that bad, right? Like if you don't imagine someone who don't know that much, you're like, well, I guess he brings up a good point.
Yeah.
But once you learn that the U.S. is actually backs most of the dictators in the world, Obama sounds like he's full of shit right there. Yeah. When you realize that Obama was weaker on Russia in terms of a war hawk stance than Trump was, you realize he's full of shit there. So it's like, man, I don't know how anyone can listen to this guy. Like I've been on a path to destroying Obama's legacy because he sounds like a war criminal. Because the implication of what he's saying there is that we should be ramping up tension against the nuclear powers. Where MLK, he had a famous quote where he called out militarism. He said, any country that spends all the money on military and weapons instead of taking care of its people, that's a sign of a nation without soul. That's me paraphrasing his quote. But that's what he said. And I mentioned before, I mentioned it now. Our revolutionary leaders, MLK, all these people, they were staunch anti-imperialists because MLK, in all his knowledge and all his wisdom, he said, how can we fight for racial justice in our country, but ignore the racist imperial politics that go on elsewhere? Like when you see our military suppressing people of color in other nations, how can you not call that out? And our community for a long time had that stance. Now the concept of being anti-war, the concept of being anti-imperialist, is crazy to a lot of Democrats. But that's where black people, that's where our leaders came from. We came from an anti-imperialist point of view. So we went from leaders who rep anti-imperialism, legends like MLK, Angela Davis, Malcolm X. We went from them to Jim Clyburn, to Barack Obama. What the fuck happened? This is why I posted about. This is why I talk about them all the time. We need to go to war with black liberalism, and I don't apologize for all the. If you hate me because I go after war criminals, I embrace your hatred. And unlike Bernie, I actually mean that shit when I say it.
Yeah.
I actually love when people go after me when I call out Biden for a war crime. When I call out Biden, kind of like you guys are not my friend. You guys are because the vast majority of American people they support ending these wars. We're gonna win that battle at the end of the day. So anyway, like I said, I think that's a good place to call it. That hour and a half flew by. But anyway, we have my boy John. We'd have you guys always welcome come on because I'm trying to be more consistent on streaming on at least Monday, Wednesday. Cause I think I'm free Monday, Wednesday, and then we got Black Rose every Friday. I'm gonna be on the Convo Couch on Tuesday for the election coverage. I'm gonna be on their show, join their panel to do that. I don't know exactly how long that may be, but I know I'm definitely gonna do a post-election show, maybe Wednesday, or so. You guys are always welcome to come on. I'm glad to have you guys on.
Might be too
Yeah.
hungover on Wednesday, but we'll see.
yeah, we see. So, so for everyone watching, that where you can that probably where you can see from me next. Remember, Black Rose is every Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. So check out, subscribe to my Twitch for that. I usually have a replay uploaded on YouTube, maybe the day after or so. So I appreciate everybody for watching. When I had a video on YouTube, I have A1 description, so you guys can follow my Twitter.